Today on YQG and Bloom, I am at Windsor's Kordazone Theatre, and I am with the director, Dean Valentino, and Brandon Chappus, who plays the main character of Murder on the Orient Express. How you guys doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited, and just watching a little bit of the practice, I can't wait to see the performance. What made you choose this?
Actually, a little bit of an odd story. Last year, a friend of mine, a fellow actor, she presented me some scripts to read and to consider presenting to different theaters. I'm not a murder mystery guy. I've never been in one. I've never directed or acted one. I've done over 100 shows, and it was really kind of foreign to me. I never read the novels. But when I read this one, I was shocked at the morality of it and the ethics that came into it. And so I read it again, not as a murder mystery, but a story about a person who has to make a decision. And so it struck me as a play that I would really like to take on. It was a good challenge, technically a good challenge. And yeah, so it started as just a gift from a friend in a genre that I was unfamiliar with, but I took it on really quickly because it was had quite a delicious ending.
Now, with the production like this, being that it's from a novel and it's already been a play, movies, how far are you allowed to go to make it your own?
I think that the adaptation by Ken Ludwig gives you enough space that you can either build out an enormous, elaborate stage or allow the audience to do most of the work. Given the stage size we have here and the limitations on space, we've defaulted to that. The audience has to do a lot of work to put us in the train, in the atmosphere. But once they're there, it's a pretty easy show to keep them there.
It's easy to be able to envision it if you have a really good cast and you got that dialogue going, and half the time when you're reading a book, you're just kind of playing it out in your head anyway. So Brandon, who is your character?
So I play the detective, Hercule Poirot, and he's a well-seasoned character. Many actors have played the role, and I'm honestly honored to take on and kind of add my own spin to him. So yeah, I'm very excited.
We watched a little bit of the practice. Your accent is amazing. It was spot on.
Oh, thank you. I've been working pretty hard on it. I do have a French background, so I am bilingual. I do speak French, and so I kind of took that and spent some time with the character to try and figure out how he would speak, and it just kind of all really kind of came together very naturally. So.
And then adding on the extra mustache.
The mustache is
Do you
nice.
think by opening night it'll curl?
Oh, well, yeah, I think I could get a nice curl by opening night. For sure.
Awesome. Now, this is Korda's first ever, how did Abby say it, public call for production?
I think in general, the way the people at Korda worked was when they do their production meetings, they tend to know they want to keep the direction in-house. Like Jeff Marin-Tate is basically the resident director, one of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. Incredible director. I've known him for, I'm not going to say how long. We've known each other for a very long time, worked together so much. And I think it's such a great family here that sometimes asking for outside producers, directors, if they don't know you, it makes them nervous because they have a reputation, a very positive and solid reputation. Mm-hmm. And having worked with them for years and years and years, I think it made it easy for me to be accepted as the next director here. The last time I directed a show here was Shakespeare's Othello, and that goes back almost 10 years. Okay. So it's been a while since I directed here. I've been in a number of shows since then. But they are cautious because they have a reputation to uphold, but also they have standards. So it's quite flattering that my friends here thought that I would make sure to maintain those standards.
Now, how long have you acted as well as directed?
Yes, yeah. My first show, I was in grade 7. and I was the evil prince, and I haven't stopped playing bad people since then. Yeah, I tend to do 2 or 3 shows a year. So
Now, do you like being on stage or directing?
selfishly, I like doing both at the same time. I like being in shows I direct because especially if I have a real solid vision of what I want from a certain character and from the overall show, my preference is on stage because the interaction with other actors is just so good.
Now, are you in this or
No,
just directing?
Just sitting out there watching.
And how many crew members do you have?
The cast of 12, and including all the crew that's supporting both sound, light, and stage, we have 7 of them.
Oh my goodness. So 12 on this stage, that's a pretty big cast.
Yeah, there's definitely certain scenes where it gets a little tight. And sometimes in about a space between you and I, we're fitting between like 5, 6, maybe 7 actors at
Oh my
once.
goodness.
So yeah, it's a little cramped, but it's fun. It's fun.
As long as you like each other.
We get real close real quick.
And you were just in Three Musketeers here at Corda not too long ago.
Yes, I was. Yes. A wonderful experience. And I've always loved being a part of Corda. So I've done the Three Musketeers, but I have my first show here was when I was in high school with Jeff Marentate, actually, who is my former drama teacher at Massey, and we've been very close since, and I've gotten the chance to take part in so many cool shows, Romeo and Juliet that we were both in.
We were both in together.
And then there is a beautiful one that we did last year, The Trench. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yes, I did the podcast for that one.
Yes, no, that was.
It was really good.
It was such a good show, and then Three Musketeers, and then now we're here at Orient Express, and honestly, I'm just so excited to finally be able to show people kind of a little what I can do.
Now, is this the first time that you're the lead?
For a stage production, yes, actually. This is my first leading role that I've had. I mean, I've always kind of enjoyed just taking on any character that's given to me. I like delving deep into how a character thinks and acts and feels, and it doesn't matter the size. It's just now I've been given an opportunity to have an entire story based around this character and to be able to explore it as exhaustively as I have. It's been really, really, really rewarding.
For a production like Murder on the Orient Express, is it hard to cast, being that there's going to be 12 on stage?
It was the hardest show I've ever had to cast. A lot of times I'll go in as a director and I'll have a preconceived notion of who I want for parts. You get to know the actors in the community, and sometimes a part you just know there'll be an actor who would just knock it out of the park. Going into this one, I had to see who could play this role. And I've worked with Brandon enough, and I know his versatility. And there were 43 actors came out. There were 8 men. And that's not a lot of variety to choose, but it wasn't even close. He was far and away the best actor for the role, albeit young. So everybody else after that, I had to cast based on his age. So some of my most favorite actors that were just too old, I had to leave them aside because we had to sort of massage everybody into a bit of a different age demographic. It wasn't hard in terms of quality. There's a lot of good actors came out.
There really is a lot of good actors in
this
Windsor.
community. Oh,
Yes.
great! Yeah, you have a bevy of riches for quality actors. So once I decided with Ian Loft, who's my assistant director, who was always by my side on every show I do, we decided it had to be Brandon. We sort of had to take everybody else and figure out, well, they're great. How do they fit in with this actor? And I think I'm going to suggest that we have found a really good chemistry. And you know, yourself and Maggie work together so well as she's the Countess, and you and Greg as Book. Some things just fell into place quite nicely, and sort of makes me grateful to the decision-making team that we had. I think we got it right.
Is this the first time that Murder on the Orient Express has been produced at Kordazone Theatre?
Yeah, I think so. They have done a number of door slamming farces, the murder mystery farces, which they knock out of the park, because Joey Wright did one year and a half ago, and my brain is forgetting what it was called.
Clue?
Yeah, The Clue. He did Clue. Yeah, forgive me. And it was outrageously good, funny, but this one, there's bits of humor, but it's supposed to be very serious, and the moral conundrum makes it so.
Yeah, that's the one thing I have to read here. When I was talking to Abby Lee to get this podcast going, she said, while setting up this interview, she quoted you as saying you are focusing on the ethical conundrum offered by the text and the power of the female characters. Now, what is that all about? Since I'm new to this whole production.
When I first read it, I didn't see it. And one could say it's obvious why. I'm almost 57-year-old white male, so I see things through a lens. But as we started to rehearse, and the actors that were cast and their interaction with Poirot really spoke to the fact that these women are really strong, and they have characteristics that you can see in the period of the suffragette would be the ones that were publicly presented by the brave, but admired by the ones that weren't. And I don't know, I'm going to have to read more Agatha Christie or more about her, because these characters are determined, they're strong, they're focused, and I don't mean this pejoratively, they control so much. And even of Poirot, who is not only a genius character, but played extremely forthright by Brandon, they control a lot of stuff he does. So it is a really interesting play to see the power of the female character, and I really want the audience to get that. And the actors are just taking it on and really absorb that and working together very well.
Now, how are you finding playing such a character?
It's been a wonderful process. There is a huge catalog of stories with Hercule Poirot in them, and many actors that have taken on that role. And so in my research, you kind of see what each person kind of takes from the character, like David Suchet, Albert Finney, Kenneth Branagh. But it's been really, really cool to kind of get into the mind of a detective, of a person who has to take all of these hints and clues and piece them all together to try and make sense of a story. And it's been really cool going through the script, figuring out when he learns what and how that affects him emotionally, because there is truly some heart-wrenching scenes. One in particular I can think of with the Countess that really motivates him emotionally, and it's a conflict that he finds between his own moral standing that he finds so rigid in black and white, and a little bit of a challenge to that, a little bit more of a compromise. He has to figure out how to go about the situation. He's never been in that situation before, and so he's extremely detailed in how he thinks, he processes, and also how he presents his information as well.
He sounds very complex.
He is very complex.
And I have noticed there's a lot of dialogue for him. Is that going to be...
Yeah, that'll be a bit tough.
We only have,
There's still time. There's still time.
Well, how long have you guys been practicing for?
Well, we auditioned for it in November, and we just sort of did once a week for the end of 2024 and built it up. I was in another show that took a bit of my time, so I thought we'd just start slow and build it up. So we've been working on it for a bit. I think the reason we needed that much time is I originally said I didn't want accents, because most actors, when you say we're doing accents, they can't do them. And they try to do them first. And I have a real problem with that. And not everyone will agree with me, and I'm perfectly happy with that. But when you start approaching a character with an accent, with the accent first, you don't develop any character. You work so hard at making sure every single syllable sounds like that person that I get a robot. I don't want robots. So I said no accents. But then as time went on, I started saying, as we knew our characters, built them up over this full length of time, we just let the accents happen. And now they're bringing them to, and the characters are complete, they're full, the accents make sense, they understand their lines, the purpose of it, the cadence is improving because they're finding their accent. So that's why we had that length of time. So, and I know this is bouncing back just a little bit, but I have to give some credit to Brandon on what he said. The research he's done, the time he's committed to it, he has invested in the moral conundrum deeply and personally, and that's what's bringing so much authenticity to the character. Is he's spent time. He's looked into why this character is important to him and why the conundrum would be important to the character, and it really shows. So.
Well, I mean, in such a complex story, I think it helps to have that extra time to really create your own version of this, whether it's watching all of the other people and how they portrayed it and taking little bits and pieces to make it your own. I think it's going to be fabulous, because just that little piece that I've seen, even though you're reading it, you can tell that it's really becoming a part of you, and I'm really excited. Now, how long is it until opening day?
3 weeks yesterday.
3 weeks yesterday.
Yeah. There's always the moment where you have the, oh Christ, what did we do? And I think it's different for actors and directors and stagehands, but the stage crew is incredibly proficient and capable. No concerns there. Sound and lighting will be fine. Once our stage is done, it's hard for the actor when you're not in your place. When your place is finished and you have your home, then it becomes much easier. All the lines sit easier, the action. So they're still faking some of the place, so I know how hard it is to get all of the nuance. But once we get the sets, the flats, the beds all done, then the first rehearsal, when everything's there, will be a disaster, and we know it.
Yeah.
But that's okay, knowing it going in, hey.
Yeah.
No.
So when should the set be ready? How long will
Last
you
week.
have? Well, I know there's a production here tonight, but...
Yeah, they'll have a couple of weeks with all the pieces,
that's-
parts. Yeah.
And the cast works really well together, so that if anybody kind of wavers, somebody's got your back.
Yeah, honestly, it's a really, really good cast of characters and a good group of people. I've worked with a number of them before, but just kind of all of us together right now, I can already feel like us getting so close and like to the point where sometimes we get a little rowdy backstage. We gotta calm down a little bit, but no, all of them wonderful people to work with. It's gonna be a great cast of characters for sure.
How long has it taken you to grow that mustache?
Well, I mean, ever since I found out that I was cast, I haven't cut it since. So I've been growing it since about the beginning of December. The key to it all is making sure that's teased, and I have my little comb that I keep, and just it keeps it nice and neat.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're getting ready to wax it?
Oh yeah. We're getting ready to give it some style, some pizzazz.
Now, are you going to have a hat on too? Or are you,
No.
we're just going to let the hair...
We're gonna. I don't know for sure exactly how we want to do the hair yet. My hair does have a mind of its own, but no, we're gonna just. If anything, it'll probably be a nice comb over or like a nice neat look to it.
We have a hairstylist who is a present student at the University of Windsor in education, working with Jeff Marentate to bring his name back up again. And she was in recently to talk about that time period. The 30s is one of her specialties. So she's going to take care of everybody. So the men will have their hair styled just as well as the women. So I'm leaving it to her. to tame the madness. But I actually don't half mind his natural look. I think
I don't
it looks
either.
quite good. So,
yeah.
And sometimes for characters you have to adjust it. In this case, we'll see what she says. But she has total control over
because
that.
It's over to the side. I think that's what makes it work, especially once you get that full-on mustache, because you don't want that to overtake everything either.
And a hat would just detract from that too a little bit. Hats are dangerous on stage because if you don't wear it correctly, then the lighting will create a weird shadow. So if it's not necessary, you tend to not use them. In this case, some of the female characters will have hats, but only for a short portion.
That's what I was just going to ask you, being that this is set in the 30s, the costumes.
The costumes were fun. Karen Kilbride and one of our other actors, Sarah, I've been working on costumes. Actors have been finding little parts themselves, but they have really worked hard at finding period-specific material and dressing everybody up so they look quite good. So they're an incredible team, the two of them. So
yeah, I never even thought about when it comes to costumes. Is that something that's created or just, like you said, just found?
Value Village found, but you'd be surprised what this theater has. In every nook and cranny, there is a costume from a time period or a genre. They have something to start with. So
yeah, they had 20 years to build up this whole thing, and there's a whole loft of a really wacky selection.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird ones up there, but it's fun. It's fun to go up and play around.
I might have to go up there after.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting for sure.
Because you said it's going to be a minimalistic set. What exactly do you envision having up here?
So the main set pieces are these 3 revolving flats, and on one side will be painted the bedrooms, and you'll see the door. So there are 3 bedroom compartments that need to show up for a number of scenes. And on the other side, they'll be slid together and it'll look like the dining car. It'll just simply be painted as if it's the wall of the dining car instead of the window side. So that will do the bulk of the heavy lifting when it comes to convincing the audience where we are. Then the set pieces will do the rest. But because of the nature of the fact that we don't have a train car, we don't even have the correct depth for a proper train car, so everything has to be, as Brandon said, squeezed, so you have sometimes 5 actors into one little tiny area. But it will be just the combination of the pieces, and the fewer the better in this case, because then you make the audience do more work, and once they've done the work, it's done. So you don't busy it up. So it'll be very plain background, 2 colors on the turning flats, and then the beds or tables, and everything is simple. So it'll give the impression of the scene, and the actors' lines will do the rest. So.
And the one thing I like about Kordazone Theatre is I noticed in the Three Musketeers, the people behind the stage that come out and they just move things around, but they kind of intertwine themselves with the cast. You don't even really notice them after the first time they come out, because it's like, oh, they're changing a set right then and there, but then after a while they just kind of get in. You don't even notice that they're there. Such a great crew you guys have here.
Yeah, no, they work hard, and they do such a good job. Amazing job.
Now, after this show, do you have anything planned, or is it going to be a little bit of a break?
I'll let you go first because my list is big.
Oh, my list is a little big too.
You guys have a big list.
Yeah, good. What's next?
What's next for me? So I do acting in both the theater community as well as the local film community, and so there's a few projects that I have lined up, 1 or 2 feature films that I'm going to be filming, which is really cool, and then I don't know how much I can talk about it, but there's a potential Shakespeare coming to Windsor in an outdoor space sometime soon. I can't say too much more, but
That's okay.
it is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. Yeah.
I will equally say as little as possible about the same production, because we might both be involved in that. Immediately after this, I returned to a play that I just put on at the Bank Theatre in Leamington. We put it into WODL, Western Ontario Drama League Festival. We got into the festival and we got the prime Saturday night slot. The festival's run out at the Bank Theatre, and so we're redoing that show, remounting it for adjudication. So we'll get feedback from professional acting adjudicators. And then we have this summer project. Dr. Barry Brody wrote a play about Tchaikovsky that I'll be doing in end of September. And then there are a couple of shows I'm actually auditioning for in the fall, both of which excite me. So I'm hoping that I have opportunity for one of them. And then next year, I can't say the name of the show, but I'll be doing another very big personal favorite at the Bank Theatre again, and I have an idea to put forward for this theatre too. So I'm thinking 2026 will be as busy as 25.
I am so excited because Windsor, Essex County is exploding in the theater, in the arts in general. It's just amazing the amount of productions, and we're talking like major league quality productions. I love it. I'm very excited about what's coming up this year, next year.
Yeah, when you look at this place, post-productions at the Shadow Box, Windsor Feminist Theatre, Eric Minchin, his improv, the Bank Theatre, a number of other groups that do things. It's not just because of the shitstorm of stupidity in our world that arts is good in this town, but we notice it more when it goes crazy. Otherwise, it's always there. There are great people in this community doing great. Oh, and how could I forget? Martin and Carly have just opened the space at the Masonic Theatre, and they just put on a killer production, and they have a great space there, and they're just so enthusiastic and great to work with. We're very lucky and jumped to film, and you could speak to that way more than I can. There's so much going on.
There is a huge community around here dedicated to the arts, and it doesn't feel like it's given the opportunity to breathe as much as it could, because there is so many cool ideas and so many cool projects just waiting for funding or some kind of thing to just bring it all together and get it going. But the ones that you do see the final product of are amazing stuff. I've worked with many good people. WIF has driven that passion for the city in terms of film. It's been a really an honor to be a part of that. There's some great people here.
We have an incredible community of actors, actresses, behind the scenes, directors, writers, even on stage, on film, and then we have the film festival on top of it, the Flick Fest. We have so much going on here. And when does the production open?
I think we open the 28th, the Friday, for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the subsequent 2 weeks are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and there's always the traditional Corda Thursday night, pay what you can. And off the top of my head, without the poster here, it's usually the second week that happens, but I could be wrong, so I'd investigate it through the website. But they have a nice opportunity for people that, especially students, that may not be able to pay the full value. They can come on a Thursday, pay what you can.
So starting the end of March and then going into April, which is really nice because not everybody has the time the first weekend. And I'm going to have all of the information about this production, about Kordazone Theatre, in the highlight on my reels and on social media. So make sure that you get to the Kordazone Theatre in Windsor this coming end of March and see the Orient Express. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, I really do appreciate it. My name is Tracy Martins. I want to thank you so much for joining me for another episode of YQG and Bloom at the Kordazone Theatre. Have a great day.